it's Monique Renewed. Welcome back for another video. So today's topic of discussion, it's going to be about why you should never have sex in your dreams. Okay, so I'm going to cover this topic under the story of Abraham and his covenant with God. So I'm going to read from Genesis 16 starting at verse 2, and it says, "So Sarai said to Abram, 'The Lord has prevented me from having children. Go and sleep with my servant. Perhaps I can have children through her.' And Abram agreed." Highlight that word, agreed, okay? When Sarai's proposal. So Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar the Egyptian servant and gave her to Abram as a wife. This happened 10 years after Abram had settled in the land of Canaan. So I find it kind of funny that the servant Hagar is Egyptian, because Egypt, it kind of represents a place of bondage and slavery. And later on in the Bible, we see that God has saved Abraham's descendants from Egypt. And the number 10, it represents responsibilities or a testing trial of some sort. So after waiting 10 years, they kind of grew impatient and said, you know what, I'm just going to take matters into my own hands. And Abram went and had sex with the servant Hagar and bore a son named Ishmael. So it kind of represents when, you know, God makes us a promise and we're looking at our circumstances, we're looking at our age, we're looking at time, and we just feel the need to rush the process when we don't realize that God's timing is perfect and that his perspective is eternal. So he's looking at the long run of things while we're looking at the short term, and we're trying to, you know, hasten the process when it's like God has perfect timing. So we just need to, you know, chillax, go at our own speed, and just wait on him. But human nature, we just, you know, like to do things on our own, I guess. So when we try to rush a process, when we're rushing things, we tend to make more mistakes. And you know, we all been through that. When if we're rushing through a test or something, we make more mistakes than if we were to just had taken our time and thoroughly look at the circumstances. So in regards to having sex in our dream and how I'm correlating this with Abraham, so God made Abraham a promise and he turned around and had sex to try to hasten the process with somebody else. So in relation to your dreams, I don't care who it is, if it's your husband, your boyfriend, somebody familiar to you, I don't care who it is. If you're having sex with somebody in your dreams, red light right there. Especially if God has made you a promise. The devil can disguise himself as anybody familiar to you. So you might think, oh, this probably means nothing. It's symbolic to an agreement. And with that, you would need to seek God's face to determine and to discern the physical manifestation that this is trying to have over your life. So it could be like, you know, like setback or delay, something that's trying to overturn a promise that God has already made to you and is trying to make another agreement with you to try to derail, you know, your path. So we see later in the story that God changes Abram's name to Abraham and sort of reinforces the covenant. And all the covenant is just an agreement. So he does this by circumcision. So this is symbolic to a new level of maturity and a covenant with God, basically. So I'm going to read from Matthew 13, verse 24 through 26, just to give you some substance of what I mean by these dreams. So it says, "The kingdom of heaven is like a farmer who planted good seed in his field. But that night, as the workers slept, his enemy came and planted weeds among the wheat, then slipped away. When the crops began to grow and produce grain, the weeds also grew." So in this parable, the farmer is Jesus. The enemy is the devil. The field is life, or a circumstance in life, or something that we're doing in life. The seeds is God's promise. The wheat is things that are not of God. And to slip away is kind of like, something cunning, deception. So the way I can explain this is that when you're sleeping, that's almost like when your flesh or your body is losing momentum and your spirit is gaining momentum. So it's like when you're fasting, your flesh or your body becomes weakened so you can become spiritually stronger and more connected to God. That's how like when you're sleeping. So these dreams are like spiritual messages, okay? You're receiving insight sometimes about what's going to happen in the near future. Okay, so when you're dreaming, it's like you're receiving spiritual messages. Okay, and the best way that you can be able to figure them out, because they are symbolic, so they're not going to be, most of the time they're not going to be literal. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But for the most part, you have to be able to uncover the meaning. And the way to do this is through the Bible. The Bible's full of symbolism and things of that nature. So this is why I say you have to take your dreams very seriously, because they are messages, like spiritual insight. So I like to either write them down or record them once I wake up so I don't forget. And that's why when you have sex in your dream, it's symbolic of a covenant or a agreement that's being made, and it's not a good one, okay? So it will physically manifest either by you agreeing to something that you shouldn't have agreed to, or something in that nature, So we see how the story of Abraham kind of symbolizes that. If God has made you a promise already and you see yourself having sex in your dream, first of all, you have to reject it, okay? You have to reject it. And you have to ask God, like, okay, what does this mean? How is this going to physically manifest into my life? And you have to ask him for the ability to be able to discern this physically, because it's not going to be obvious. Like, the devil don't work like that. He's very crafty, okay? It's going to seem like it's the right thing to do, but it's not really what God told you to do. So you need to seek God and be connected to him. And you need to obey him, okay? If he's telling you, maybe to fast or something so you can draw closer to him, then do it, okay? If he's telling you, hey, I need you to not do this with that person or do this something, I don't know, but whatever, be obedient. Whatever he tells you to do it. You might not realize what it is until later, but then you'll eventually get privy to him, like, oh, that's what that was. So even though Abraham and Sarah tried to assist God in his plans, and try to come up with their own plans and their own will, he still blessed both Ishmael and Isaac, and that just speaks to his kindness, his mercy, and his grace. That even though we may stumble, we may trip over a little bit and make mistakes, his promise still stands. So as long as you keep pushing into God, don't give up. We may make mistakes along the way, but keep standing strong, okay? So that's it. That is why you never, ever want to have sex in your dreams. And if you do, just know the implications, that it means some type of agreement or a covenant being made that is not the direction you should be heading to. Okay, so that's it. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.